shattered glass. Sophia Bennett stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of her corner office, watching the sunrise paint the city skyline in hues of gold. At 42, she had built Verity Media from a struggling digital newsletter into a global empire known for its uncompromising journalistic integrity. The New York Times had recently called her the last guardian of truth in an era of misinformation. 15 years of relentless work, strategic acquisitions, and an unwavering commitment to quality reporting had earned her both fortune and respect. Her phone vibrated against the glass desk behind her. She glanced at it briefly, expecting the usual morning updates from her executive team. Instead, a flood of notifications illuminated the screen. 27 text messages, 43 email alerts, hundreds of social media notifications. Something was wrong. The first message was from her chief of staff, Eleanor. "Call me immediately. There's a situation." The second was a link to an Instagram post from Olivia Carter, a beauty and lifestyle influencer with 3 million followers. Sophia didn't follow influencer culture. She considered most of it vapid and inauthentic, but she recognized the name. Olivia had been featured in Verity's style section several times. She clicked the link. The first image showed her husband, James, kissing a young woman with honey blonde hair and perfect makeup. The location tag read Maldives, where James had supposedly been on a photography assignment 2 months ago. The caption beneath read, "Some loves are worth the secrecy. 1 year of us against the world. True love, no more hiding." Sophia's hand tightened around her phone as she swiped to the next image. James and Olivia in what was unmistakably the guest house of Sophia's Hamptons estate. Another showed them at a restaurant Sophia had taken James to for their anniversary. The final slide was a video. Olivia spoke directly to the camera, her expression a practiced mix of vulnerability and defiance. "I know this will cause pain, and I'm sorry for that. But James and I have hidden our relationship for too long. He's been unhappy for years, and we deserve happiness. Sometimes love means making difficult choices." Sophia set the phone down. Her mind, always analytical, was already several steps ahead. She thought of the 13 years she'd been married to James, how he'd started as her business partner before his own career as a photographer stalled. She remembered the growing distance, the late-night emergency shoots, the defensive behavior when she asked simple questions. She'd suspected something, but had been too consumed by her company's expansion into Europe to investigate. A mistake she wouldn't repeat. Her phone rang. Eleanor. "I've seen it," Sophia said, her voice betraying nothing of the storm within her. "It's everywhere. TMZ, page 6, Twitter. The story's gone viral in the last hour," Eleanor said. "What do you want to do? We should issue a statement before—" "No, statements," Sophia interrupted. "Not yet. But social media is already taking sides. They're painting you as the cold, career-obsessed wife and her as the passionate young woman who awakened his heart. Those are actual quotes from comments." Sophia watched a flock of birds wheel across the morning sky. "Let them speculate. I won't be rushed into a reaction for their entertainment." "And James?" "I imagine he's trying to decide between apologizing or doubling down," Sophia said. "Either way, he'll be calling soon." As if summoned, James's name appeared on her screen. Sophia declined the call. "Have Marcus meet me at the house in an hour. Tell Victoria to assemble the investigative team," Sophia said, referring to her attorney and the head of Verity's renowned investigative journalism department. "And Eleanor, not a word to anyone about this plan." "What plan?" Eleanor asked. Sophia picked up her bag. "Olivia Carter wanted to tell a story. Now I'm going to tell mine." The silent strategy. The Blacktown car pulled into Sophia's driveway at precisely 9 a.m. Marcus Wells, her attorney of 15 years, waited on the steps of her brownstone, his expression grave. In his hand was a manila folder that Sophia recognized as their prenuptial agreement. "I've been fielding calls since dawn," he said, following her inside. "James's attorney is suggesting an amicable and private resolution." Sophia hung her coat with deliberate care. "I'm sure he is." The house felt different now, contaminated by the knowledge that Olivia had been here, posing for photographs in spaces Sophia had once considered private sanctuaries. She walked to the living room where her team waited. Eleanor, Victoria Diaz, who headed Verity's investigative unit, and Richard Knox, the digital forensics expert who had helped break 3 major political scandals for their publication. "Thank you all for coming," Sophia said, taking a seat. "As you know, my personal life has become very public overnight. But this isn't about my marriage. It's about something much more significant." She pulled up Olivia's Instagram profile on the large screen. "This wasn't a confession of love. It was a calculated media strategy, and I want to know why." Victoria leaned forward. "You think there's more to it than just an affair gone public?" "The timing is suspicious," Sophia replied. "Verity is about to announce our acquisition of Worldwide Network next week. This could be an attempt to destabilize our stock price before the announcement." Richard nodded. "Or it could be simply about followers and engagement. Olivia's account has gained almost 500,000 new followers since yesterday. Her engagement rate has tripled." "Either way," Sophia said, "I want the full story. Not for revenge, but for truth. That's what Verity stands for." For the next 4 hours, they worked methodically. Richard traced the digital footprint of Olivia's posts, discovering they had been drafted weeks ago and strategically timed for maximum impact. Victoria's team pulled together a comprehensive background on Olivia Carter. Born Olivia Schmidt in a small Minnesota town, rebranded herself 3 times before landing on her current persona, had a history of relationships with increasingly prominent men, each breakup coinciding with a significant career advancement. By noon, Sophia's phone had 27 missed calls from James. She finally answered the 28th. "Sophia, please," his voice cracked. "We need to talk." "We certainly do," she replied, evenly. "But not today. I made a terrible mistake. Olivia, she wasn't supposed to post those. She blindsided me too." Sophia's laugh was hollow. "That's your defense? That you were betrayed by your mistress? How ironic." "It wasn't serious," he insisted. "It was just photographs in our home, James, our bed." Her voice remained steady despite the wave of nausea that hit her. "Was that just anything?" The silence told her everything. "I'll have Marcus contact your attorney with terms," she said. "Don't come to the house." She ended the call and returned to her team, who pretended not to have overheard. Victoria handed her a tablet with a draft timeline of the affair. "There's something else," Victoria said. "Olivia has been meeting with executives from Nexus Media for months." Sophia's eyes narrowed. Nexus was Verity's largest competitor, known for sensationalism over substance. "You think she's working with them?" "Not directly," Victoria explained. "But 3 weeks ago, she signed a reality show development deal with their entertainment division." "The show concept? Dating up, following influencers who date powerful men." The pieces clicked into place. "So this isn't just about followers," Sophia said. "It's about launching her television career." "And James?" Eleanor asked gently. "A stepping stone," Sophia replied. "Just like all the others before him." As the afternoon wore on, more details emerged. Emails between Olivia and her manager discussing how to maximize the Sophia Bennett connection, a drafted press release about Olivia's new show, already prepared to capitalize on the scandal. A podcast appearance scheduled for tomorrow where she would tell her side. Sophia stood by the window watching the lengthening shadows. She had built her reputation on exposing the truth, however uncomfortable. Now she would apply the same principles to her personal life. "Victoria," she said finally, I want a full investigative piece, not a hit job, facts only. Show how this fits into the larger pattern of influencer culture and manufactured relationships. Use the same standards we would for any story. And the timing? Victoria asked. 3 days, Sophia replied. Before her podcast appearance, and Victoria, make sure it's unimpeachable. Every claim backed by multiple sources. This isn't about my feelings, it's about the truth. As her team dispersed with their assignments, Sophia remained alone in the room that had witnessed 13 years of her marriage. She allowed herself, briefly, to feel the full weight of the betrayal, not just from James, but from a culture that rewarded such calculated exhibitions of private pain. Then she straightened her shoulders. They wanted a spectacle of a woman, scorned. Instead, they would get a masterclass in reclaiming one's narrative. Headlines and heartbreak. At 6:30 a.m. on Thursday, Sophia's phone lit up with a notification from the Verity app. The story was live, front page, digital, and print editions. The headline was understated yet devastating in its precision. The economics of exposure, how private relationships become public currency. She sat in her kitchen, still in her silk robe, and read the piece from beginning to end. Victoria's team had outdone themselves. The article wasn't a tabloid exposé. It was a meticulously researched analysis of influencer marketing strategies, using Olivia Carter as the central case study. It detailed her pattern of relationships, each carefully selected to increase her visibility, each ending timed to maximize sympathy and followers. The piece included interviews with marketing executives who spoke anonymously about the relationship escalation ladder, the strategy of dating increasingly high-profile men to gain access to elite circles. It contained financial analyses of how Olivia's sponsorship rates had increased after each public relationship milestone. Most damning were the quotes from 3 previous boyfriends who described nearly identical patterns of documentation and eventual public exposure. Nowhere did the article descend to personal attacks. James was mentioned only as the husband of Verity CEO Sophia Bennett and Carter's most recent relationship. The focus remained squarely on the business mechanics behind what appeared to be emotional decisions. By 8 a.m., the story had been picked up by every major news outlet. Verity exposé was trending nationwide. Sophia's phone buzzed continuously, with messages of support from colleagues, friends, and even competitors who recognized the journalistic integrity behind the piece. At 9 a.m., Eleanor called. Olivia's team has canceled the podcast appearance, she reported. Her publicist released a statement claiming the Verity article is character assassination disguised as journalism and that they're exploring legal options. Let them, Sophia replied. Every word is backed by evidence. Marcus has already reviewed it twice. And James? Sophia sighed. What about him? He's been trying to reach you. Says he had no idea about Olivia's history or her deal with Nexus. That's his problem, not mine, Sophia said, though the words tasted bitter. 13 years couldn't be erased overnight, no matter how clinical her response appeared to others. By midday, Sophia arrived at Verity headquarters. She had deliberately chosen to come in, to face her employees with dignity rather than hide away. The office fell silent as she walked through, heads turning, conversations pausing. She nodded acknowledgement, but maintained her course to her office, where Victoria waited. Nexus Media has pulled Olivia's show, Victoria said without preamble. 3 of her major sponsors have suspended their partnerships pending review of recent developments. Sophia sat at her desk, arranging her notepads, with precise movements. That wasn't our intention. No, Victoria agreed. But it was predictable. The truth has consequences, especially when it disrupts profitable narratives. A notification appeared on Sophia's computer. Olivia had posted again. A tearful video, makeup artfully smudged, claiming she had been manipulated and was just a young woman in love who never meant to hurt anyone. She portrayed herself as the victim of a powerful media mogul's vendetta. The comments beneath were divided, but noticeably different from before. For every supporter calling Sophia heartless, there were now two pointing out the calculated nature of Olivia's response. The narrative was shifting. "She's losing control of the story," Victoria observed. "She never had control," Sophia replied. "She just had the first word." As the day progressed, James made his own public statement, a brief, typed message posted to his photography account. He took full responsibility for the affair, but claimed he had been misled about certain aspects of the relationship. The statement read like it had been drafted by an attorney, which it undoubtedly had been. By evening, Sophia sat alone in her office, watching the city lights emerge against the darkening sky. The professional victory felt hollow against the personal loss. Not of James. That relationship had been fading long before Olivia, but of the certainty and privacy she had valued. Her phone rang. It was Theodore Grant, chairman of Verity's board. "The stock is up 3 points, he said without greeting. "The worldwide acquisition is secure. You've handled this situation remarkably well, Sophia." "Thank you, Theodore. The board fully supports you. Whatever you need during this transition." Transition. Such a sanitized word for the dismantling of a life shared. After the call ended, Sophia remained at her desk, reviewing the day's developments. Olivia's carefully constructed narrative had collapsed under scrutiny. James had retreated into legal self-preservation. The business implications had been contained. By all objective measures, Sophia had won this round. Yet victory tasted like ashes. Her assistant knocked gently before entering. "There's someone here to see you. Julian Fletcher from the Washington Bureau." Sophia frowned. Julian was one of their most respected investigative journalists, recently returned from a year-long assignment in Eastern Europe. "Send him in." Julian entered, tall and weathered, with the focused intensity common to journalists who regularly operated in conflict zones. "I apologize for the interruption," he said. "I wanted to personally tell you that the piece today was exemplary journalism. It couldn't have been easy to apply that level of objectivity to your own situation." "Truth isn't optional at Verity," she replied, "even when it's painful." Julian nodded. "That's why I came back. In a world of convenient narratives, this company still stands for something." For the first time that day, Sophia felt something other than calculated determination or buried grief. It was a reminder of why she had built Verity in the first place, not for profit or power, but for the increasingly rare currency of truth. "Thank you, Julian," she said simply. After he left, Sophia made a decision. The story wasn't over yet. Olivia had weaponized intimacy for profit. James had betrayed trust for validation. But Sophia still controlled one thing: her own voice. And it was time to use it. Reclaiming the narrative. The conference room on the 40th floor of the Verity building had been transformed. The long mahogany table was replaced with a single chair and a simple backdrop featuring neither the company logo nor any personal branding, just a soft gradient of blue. A single camera was positioned directly ahead, its operator the only other person in the room besides Sophia and Eleanor. "Are you certain about this?" Eleanor asked, adjusting the lapel microphone on Sophia's charcoal blazer. "The legal team advises against any public statement while the divorce proceedings are ongoing." Sophia smoothed her hands over her tailored pants. "I'm not discussing the divorce. This is something different." She had spent the past week in careful contemplation. The exposé had effectively neutralized Olivia's narrative, but it had also thrust Sophia into a role she had never wanted, that of the powerful woman betrayed, another character in a story as old as time. The public was already creating their own version of her: the ice queen, the career woman too busy for love, the scorned wife plotting revenge. None of those narratives served her purpose. "We're ready when you are," the camera operator said. Eleanor squeezed her shoulder before stepping out of frame. Sophia took a deep breath and nodded. The red light blinked on. "My name is Sophia Bennett," she began, her voice steady. "Most of you know me as the CEO of Verity Media. Some of you now know me as the woman whose husband had an affair with an influencer. Today, I'd like to speak about something more important than either of those identities." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "I want to talk about silence. Not the silence of secrets kept, but the silence expected of women in positions of power when our personal lives become public property." For the next 12 minutes, Sophia spoke without notes. She discussed how powerful women are caught in an impossible bind, expected to be vulnerable enough to seem human, but stoic enough to seem competent, to acknowledge pain without appearing weak, to respond to betrayal without seeming vindictive. "When a private relationship becomes public spectacle," she continued, "women are offered limited roles to play, the victim seeking sympathy, the vengeful ex demanding justice, or the dignified martyr rising above it all. What's rarely offered is the space to be messy, complicated, and human." She spoke about how media narratives reduce complex situations to simplified morality tales and how social media amplifies the most extreme voices. "I chose to respond with journalism because that's the language I know best. But facts alone don't tell the whole story. The truth is, I am angry. I am hurt. I trusted someone who betrayed that trust. Those emotions aren't weaknesses. They're the natural response to broken promises." Her voice remained even, but her eyes conveyed the depth of feeling behind her. "Words. I won't perform my pain for public consumption. I won't diminish my accomplishments to seem more approachable. And I won't pretend that professional success somehow compensates for personal betrayal. These experiences exist simultaneously, neither canceling out the other." She leaned slightly forward. "To every woman who has been told to stay silent, to protect someone else's reputation, to preserve a family image, to avoid making others uncomfortable with your justified anger, I see you. Your silence isn't protecting you. It's protecting systems that don't value your voice." As she concluded, Sophia introduced her new initiative, The Truth Project, a Verity Media program dedicated to supporting women journalists investigating digital manipulation, privacy violations, and the commercialization of intimate relationships. From this painful experience, I'm choosing to build something meaningful. Not because it's the dignified response, but because it's the one that aligns with my values. We all have the power to rewrite the narratives assigned to us. Starting today, that's exactly what I intend to do. The red light blinked off. Eleanor returned to her side immediately. "That was powerful. Will it resonate?" Sophia asked, suddenly, uncertain. She had exposed more of herself in those 12 minutes than in years of profiles and interviews. "It already is," Eleanor said, showing her phone. The video, uploaded directly to Verity's platforms just moments ago, was gaining thousands of views per minute. The Truth Project was climbing trending lists. Comments were flooding in, primarily from women sharing their own experiences of being silenced. By that evening, the video had been viewed 17 million times. News networks were requesting permission to air excerpts. Women's organizations were reaching out about partnerships. But what moved Sophia most were the private messages from women in leadership positions across industries, thanking her for articulating experiences they had never felt permitted to acknowledge. At home that night, Sophia sat on her terrace overlooking the city. Her phone rang. Julian Fletcher from the Washington Bureau. "I hope I'm not disturbing you," he said when she answered. "Not at all. I wanted to say that your statement today, it changed something. In the newsroom, reporters have been discussing it for hours. 3 women on staff have already asked to be considered for the Truth Project." Sophia smiled. "Good. That's exactly what I hoped for. There's something else. Julian continued. I'm working on an investigation into digital privacy breaches, targeting public figures. Given recent events, I thought you might have insights to contribute. Perhaps we could discuss it over dinner when I'm back in New York next week. Sophia paused, surprised by the invitation, and by her own instinct to accept it. It was too soon for anything personal, but the professional connection felt right. I'd be interested in hearing more about your investigation, she said carefully. Dinner would be fine. After they disconnected, Sophia remained on the terrace, watching stars emerge against the city's glow. For the first time since the scandal broke, she felt genuinely at peace with her choices. The path forward wouldn't be simple. Divorce proceedings, media scrutiny, and the inevitable professional challenges still awaited her. But she had found her voice again. Not the carefully calibrated corporate voice she had perfected over years of leadership, but her authentic voice, complex, emotional, and ultimately unbreakably true to itself. New foundations. 1 year later, Sophia stood at the podium in the grand ballroom of the Pierre Hotel, looking out at the gathered crowd of journalists, media executives, and cultural figures. The inaugural Truth Project Awards Gala had drawn a more prestigious attendance than even Eleanor had predicted. Sophia adjusted the microphone, acutely aware of how much had changed since that day in her conference room. Welcome, she began, to an evening celebrating what many considered an outdated concept, journalistic integrity. Gentle laughter rippled through the audience. 1 year ago, the Truth Project began with a simple premise, that in an era of manufactured narratives, authentic truth still matters, that women's stories deserve rigorous reporting rather than sensationalism, that the economics of exposure should be examined rather than exploited. She gestured to the 10 women seated at the front tables, the inaugural fellows of the Truth Project, investigative journalists who had produced groundbreaking work over the past year. Their investigations had exposed everything from hidden algorithms manipulating women's content on social platforms to elaborate schemes monetizing relationship breakups through coordinated product placements. Tonight we honor not just excellent journalism, but the courage to pursue uncomfortable truths, especially when those truths challenge powerful systems. As Sophia continued her address, she caught sight of Julian Fletcher in the third row. He offered a subtle smile that she returned before continuing. Their professional collaboration had evolved gradually over the past year, beginning with his digital privacy investigation and expanding to regular strategy sessions for the Truth Project. The personal dimension had developed even more slowly. Coffee, meetings that stretched into dinners, conversations that ranged far beyond work, and eventually, a cautious opening of hearts long protected by professional armor. Nothing had been rushed, nothing had been publicly declared. Their relationship existed in a private space they both fiercely guarded after their respective experiences with public exposure. Julian's during a dangerous assignment in Eastern Europe, Sophia's through her very public betrayal. After the ceremony concluded and the awards were presented, Sophia circulated through the room, accepting congratulations and discussing future initiatives. Verity Media had not only survived the scandal, but thrived in its aftermath. The company's commitment to substantive reporting had attracted a new generation of subscribers disillusioned with clickbait and sensationalism. Quite a triumph, came a familiar voice behind her. She turned to find Theodore Grant, still chairman, of Verity's board, now an enthusiastic supporter of the Truth Project after seeing its impact on subscription numbers. It's just the beginning, Sophia replied. Wait until you see what the second cohort of fellows is investigating. I have no doubt it will be equally impressive, Theodore said. Though I must ask, have you given any thought to our discussion about the European expansion? The board feels strongly that your personal involvement would accelerate our growth there. Sophia had been considering the proposal for weeks. Opening a major European headquarters would mean significant time abroad, a new chapter for Verity and potentially for her. I'm still evaluating the timing, she said diplomatically. Later, as the event wound down, Sophia found herself on the hotel's rooftop terrace with Julian. The New York skyline glittered around them, a vista of possibilities. "Congratulations," he said, handing her a glass of champagne. "You've created something remarkable." "We all did," she corrected. "Every fellow, every editor who supported them, every source who trusted us with their story." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, the kind that comes only after countless conversations have built a foundation of understanding. "I heard about the European offer," Julian finally said. "Theodore isn't known for subtlety." Sophia smiled. "No, he isn't. Have you decided?" She turned to face him fully. "That depends on several factors, including what you think about spending more time in Europe." His expression registered surprise, then careful consideration. "My contract with the Washington Bureau ends next month. I've been considering next steps." "And what are you considering?" she asked. "I've had offers from several publications, including one to head international investigations for a certain media company expanding into Europe." His eyes held hers. "Apparently the CEO specifically requested me." Sophia laughed softly. "Is that inappropriate? I can never quite tell anymore where the professional lines should be drawn." "I think we're well past worrying about conventional boundaries," Julian replied. "We've both seen enough to know that integrity isn't about appearances." As the night air wrapped around them, Sophia reflected on the journey of the past year. The public narrative had moved on long ago. Olivia Carter had briefly leveraged the scandal into a reality show on a minor network before fading into the middle tiers of influencer relevance. James had relocated to the West Coast, his photography business rebuilding slowly away from the shadow of the scandal. The divorce had been finalized without drama, their shared history reduced to legal documents and divided assets. But the true transformation had been internal. Sophia had rediscovered parts of herself submerged during years of marriage and career building. Her capacity for righteous anger, her willingness to be publicly vulnerable, her desire for companionship that challenged rather than complimented. "I'm accepting the European assignment," she decided aloud. "But I want to structure it differently than Theodore envisions. Less ceremonial leadership, more strategic development." Julian nodded. "And the International Investigations Division?" "Needs someone who understands both journalistic integrity and the complexities of global reporting," she said. "Someone whose judgment I trust implicitly." "And personally?" he asked, the question they had both carefully avoided formalizing until now. Sophia considered the man before her, brilliant, principled, patient. He had never once treated her as a powerful connection to be leveraged or a wounded woman to be rescued. He had simply recognized her as an equal, complicated and complete. "Personally," she said, "I think it's time we stop pretending this is just a professional relationship. But I want something different this time. Something private, but not secret. Authentic, but not exposed. Can you understand that distinction?" "Better than most," he replied. "My work has taught me the value of privacy that isn't secrecy, of boundaries that aren't walls." As they looked out over the city where Sophia had built her empire and weathered her darkest days, they didn't need to define what would come next. Labels and declarations belonged to the world of performances they had both rejected. Instead, they simply existed in the quiet certainty of two people who had found in each other, not completion, but recognition. The Truth Project would continue its work, expanding across continents. Verity Media would evolve with the changing landscape of global journalism. And Sophia Bennett, once defined by others as a betrayed wife, an ice queen, a corporate success story, would continue defining herself page by authentic page. When she spoke again, her voice held the same certainty that had carried her through the past year of transformation. "To new foundations," she said, raising her glass. Julian touched his glass to hers. and to truths yet to be told.